Castine is a historic village on the Blue Hill Peninsula in Maine. Castine's population varies depending on the time of the year. Year-round winter population is probably close to 500 people, with about 1,000 Maine Maritime Academy students. There is a point at the end of the summer where the students are back. The summer population is still here. We're probably closer to 2,000 people.
We knew there was a problem in the summertime. We've kept track, and we were able just barely to meet demand in dry years. So we knew we needed to have an additional source in town.
EPA engaged several small to medium-sized drought-impacted utilities to identify lessons learned and outline effective strategies to increase resilience to drought. For the town of Castine, exploring additional water source options was imperative to meeting their water supply needs. Drought Response and Recovery, Town of Castine, Maine.
For years and years, the town of Castine relied solely on the Battle Avenue Ponds property for providing drinking water. When the surface water drinking water rules came into effect, the town realized at that point they were going to have to do something different. So that's when the town started looking at drinking water wells.
The town of Castine has several different wells that provide the water to the community. They have a shallow well that diminishes in capacity about 50% in the summertime, and they have the Wadsworth Cove well that tends to have arsenic in the water, so that becomes an expensive source to treat. And then they have a saltwater well that tends to add chlorides to the system if they overpump it.
Castine, if you look at a map, it looks like it's on a peninsula. But the water source is an island, and the only water we have is what's right directly underneath us.
So the biggest problem is not having redundancy. We have wells where if that well goes down, I'm looking for another 35 to 40,000 gallons of water in a hurry.
As the need for more water became apparent, Castine assessed their options.
Desalinization was talked about. Going off neck for an additional water source was talked about. It would be a huge, huge expense that a utility of this size of 370 connections could not bear the expense.
So, sort of full circle, we decided to relook at the Battle Avenue ponds.
We began engineering work and testing, and that's when we came up with the design for the horizontal well.
If we could catch water coming off Witherly Hill through an existing sand strata, the sand would naturally filter the water. But also, we have 7 million gallons of pond water that also migrates through that sand filter into that same horizontal filter. That really is a new water source to the system. We're not just drilling another hole in the aquifer.
With their plans set, Castine began working with the state to obtain the necessary permits and approvals.
Castine hired a consultant to perform a pilot study. Based on that, we approved the conceptual design, which was followed up by a full design for the horizontal well.
This one actually goes horizontally across the land. So all in all is about 500 feet of collection pipe. And that all comes together in a central collection tank. We had to work with the drinking water program to establish a kind of a unique way of treating the water with the cartridge filters.
During the development of Castine's horizontal well, a water shortage emergency underscored the urgency to bring the new supply online.
In the winter of 14-15, where we had below average rainfall to recharge the aquifer, we became concerned, and as we went through the spring, it wasn't getting any better.
Summer of 2015, we had a major infrastructure project going in town. During construction, we had a total of 27 main breaks. We were talking close to 1 million gallons of water we'd use for construction and main breaks.
And we knew what to expect towards the end of the summer with the perfect storm of students coming and summer people not going.
To tackle the water shortage, Castine worked with their partners to implement a pre-existing drought response protocol.
The drinking water program required us to enter into a water agreement with an adjacent municipality, Bucksport, and also try to identify means of hauling water were we to be exposed to a production shortfall. So those arrangements were in place when we entered the severe drought of 2015 and saw the need to actually truck water into Castine.
When we were hauling water from Bucksport, the truck hauled approximately 8,000 gallons per load. We averaged 3 loads per day, and after 30 days, the total is 360,000 gallons.
It did solve the crisis, but it is not a sustainable solution.
Castine brought their new horizontal well online the following summer, and it was quickly put to the test.
The next time we ran into a drought situation, which miraculously was the first year that it went online in the summer of 2016.
The September was one of the driest Septembers ever measured in Maine, in like the 122-year record.
During our recent 2016 drought, which was fairly severe throughout the state, they did not need to get outside help. They were able to sustain their system with the sources they have.
While confident in their solution, Castine wanted to conduct a tabletop exercise to further evaluate their new water supply system.
The town of Castine reached out to Hancock County Emergency Management to help them facilitate a tabletop exercise to test their water systems. And Castine did a tremendous job to showcase that they are resilient during drought conditions.
I think the long-term outlook for Castine is good. Right now, we feel like that the Battle Avenue filtration plant will give us the additional capacity to meet demand and maybe even exceed demand in even the worst drought conditions.
Explore EPA's Drought Response and Recovery Guide for additional ways to make your utility more drought resilient at www.epa.gov/water utility response.